All right. Hey, everyone. I have my friend here, Dr. Janet Rourke, and we're going to talk about goal setting. And we're going to start by this disclaimer that neither of us are in the proper headspace. So this should be a wild ride of real talk. I am sick and tired. What about you?
I am a little sick and a little tired. Absolutely. I think it's that time of year, unfortunately.
It is. So we should give up on this whole idea of goal setting and
Yeah.
intention. And no, you
Yep,
don't think
just go quit and hide under a blanket until we feel better. And then maybe some magical motivation will happen, and then maybe we can do something.
that's why I keep a blanket and a couch right there is in between inspiring videos. I hide under the blanket, regroup, and then do another inspiring
Fetal
video.
position, like it's gonna be okay.
Totally. If you guys are here, make sure that you say hi. And if you have a light bulb moment while we're talking, please put that in the comments. So I wanted to bring Janet on here because over the past few years of working together, she's really hit some tremendous goals. Little disclaimer here, we're not going to do any compare and despair on goals achieved because I know that's not the point. But what we want to do is have an honest conversation about what are some goals that have been achieved, what was hard about reaching goals, this idea of yearly goal setting, what stinks about it, and then what's helpful. And then whatever other thoughts that you have after going through this for 3 years. I think we've done yearly goals for 3 years. And I want to encourage everyone that, there's hope on the other side of it. Can you share what you just shared with me right before we hopped on here about confidence? Because I think everybody was like, I want
Yeah,
confidence when I set my goals. And you don't think
yeah.
that's
It's well, the only way to get confidence is to become good at something, right? So like I ride horses, and the only way I've gotten to be confident in riding my horse is by riding him a lot. And I think that's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a I think people think they want confidence, but they don't want to do what it takes to get there. And what it takes and what they really, really want, what they really need is the courage to do something that they've never done before, or they've never done it this way, or they've never tried something a little bit different, or and courage is what you need to develop confidence. And so it's a little bit of a difference between courage and confidence. People think they want confidence, but what they really need is courage. So,
Yeah, I think this is so profound for this idea of yearly goal setting because if you feel confident in your yearly goals, that's probably not the appropriate outcome. We actually need to be courageous in our yearly goals because if the yearly, like they need to stretch us, right? And we need to be asking different questions than we did the year before. So can you just give an overview of like, I know that you hate this part. I'm sorry to do this to you, but some of the goals that you've been able to achieve in the past few years.
okay. Well, when did we start doing this? In 2020?
The first yearly goal I remember was you going, oh, I mean, it'd be great if I could, obviously dramatic, but I just be like, I guess, quit my full-time job.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
so,
that was
oh
the
my
gist
gosh.
of that conversation was so like,
So that was 2019 that we had that conversation. It was the first time we ever did year-end kind of year-end reviews, and then like the goal setting for the next year. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do goal setting other than like, this is the next thing I want to do, and then go do it. And then this is the next thing I want to do, and then go do it. I've never, like, a whole year seems like so long. And part of me was like, so I have like adaptability in my top 5. So part of me was like, well, I don't want to like make a goal. One, I don't want to make a goal that I can't meet because then my achiever would be really, really sad.
feel that.
Two, I don't want to make a goal that like puts God in a box because what if he's got some miracle that's going to happen, or he wants me to like move to Africa and become a missionary? Like I don't want to put God in a box. And like if I make a goal, then I'll be so set on I might miss what God has for me. So there was a little bit of that going on too. And so I you helped me a ton with this. Okay, like straight up, guys, like Tasha is amazing at helping with goal setting, and especially for the whole year, because you put it in a way that was like, okay, well, let's just put it out there. And so we put it on the list, and there was a big part of me that was like, this is never going to happen. I don't see a way for that to happen. Like, I'm going to be stuck in this job for the next at least 5 years before I pull myself together and am able to do anything, outside of this W-2 job that I have been doing for 16 years at that point. So yeah. So
Yeah.
that was
What were some of the
I
goals
had a tiny bit of resistance. I don't.
Tiny. Let's see. I'm looking at 2019.
Yeah. So So to answer your question, yeah, that was one of them. We put it on there, and then we had some like I didn't even know what was going to happen in the next year. 2020 was so crazy. But we made the cool thing about doing goal setting the way you do it is it's not just about the business. It's about your personal life, and it's about everything. And so in 2019, I don't even remember what the goals were. Honestly, that was so many years ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. But what had happened was in 2020, we were just like every quarter kind of reviewing it.
I'm gonna write down. Oh, this is what did you accomplish in 2020?
Yes.
Okay, I wrote down. Bought a horse, showed in horse shore,
Yep.
left W-2 jobs, wrote a book, launched a certification course, moved from 500 to 2,400 in membership. Lots of podcasts for webinars, full-time income from your business, paid off your student loans.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a big year. In 2020, which is when the world was imploding, by the way, FYI, that it was really, really not probably the smartest thing to be leaving my very secure W-2 job where I was making a lot of money and go into full-time entrepreneurship.
Yeah, but we did it anyway because courage.
Because so much courage. Oh my gosh.
Confidence. So I really appreciate you talking about what's hard for you about the yearly goals. Like, what if I don't reach them? What if God has something else in store for me? Like, am I locked in? Am I in a cage? What are some other things that are hard for you? And if any of this relates to you all, please let us know, because we want to make sure Dr. Rourke is not alone.
I really hope I'm not alone in this. I know I'm not alone in all of this because I've talked to some of you guys. But what else was hard about setting goals? Setting goals, I have, I think I wanted to make sure that there was room for fun in there. How do I set a goal about having fun? Like, how do I even do that? And like, I wanted to make sure I had, time with my family, and have, and make sure that I had room for, being generous is one of the things that is just like a core value for me. So how can I set a goal around like my generosity without like that getting a little out of control, and me spending all of my money on just giving it all away. So that's something that you've been helping me with a lot lately. But and there's ways that you can like structure it so you can actually have goals around each one of those things, and they don't necessarily conflict with each other. So it's like, how can I make money in my business but still be generous? It seems like when I say it, like, well, those kind of conflict because like you know what I mean? But you can have goals around both. And so it's pretty cool doing the year-end goal setting. I'm excited about that. We haven't done this here yet, so I'm actually looking forward to it. And you know me, like I never look forward to stuff like this. So
and I think it's really helpful to know like several things about what you just said there. I want to recap. First, it gets easier the more you do. I think most people do it once, freak out, and then just put it away and don't revisit it. The other thing that you talked about is balanced goals. So I think a lot of goal setting, especially in the business world, because not a lot of people talk about personal goal setting. It's usually like the business coaches like me, like, let's set the goals. And so I think it feels like, okay, then if I set a goal for my business and everything else in my life, like that's going to be my guiding star. That's going to be the most important thing in the business and everything else comes secondary. Can you talk a little bit about how you worked through that or how, I mean, I know that we helped in the actual system that we use. We're doing the goal setting workshop next week publicly. So that's
Yeah.
what we're.
Okay, cool. So everyone should do that. Full disclosure, it's amazing and also very hard. But it's 1,000% worth it because I mean, you just heard the list of things that happened after I did my first one, and I just didn't think any of it was going to happen. To be honest, couldn't even like have
Yeah, do you
imagined
think
it.
you need to believe in the goals that you write down? I feel like that's actually a really important question.
I did it. I just didn't see how it could happen, and I'm not. A lot of people are really like futuristic, they're visionary, they can like see 10 years ahead, and I am not one of those people. I'm like, I don't even know what tomorrow is gonna really hold. So if you ask me about like next year, like, I mean, come on, like, no idea. And then the next year I bought a ranch, right? So like,
I wasn't on the list.
that was the next year. That was
But
after.
it was
So,
a byproduct of staying focused on goals of showing your horses, the goals of staying
yeah,
healthy, the goals like the ranch ended up being how God worked, right? As a byproduct of aligning personal goals, business goals, and health goals.
yeah.
So I
Yep.
think that's what you started talking about is like, I don't want to pursue these goals because then it'll impact my time with my family, my generosity. So how did all that like work together in reality?
Well, the cool thing is when you have all of that as part of it, and I wasn't specifically like laser focused on any one thing. It was all just part of it. It was just a part of living, and it became this process of creating my best life, right? And we've had to like and having those goals when something came along that was like, ooh, shiny, exciting thing. I'm an entrepreneur and I want to do the new shiny, exciting new program thing, class, whatever. I'm like, oh, yes, this sounds amazing. Tasha, I should do this, right? And you're like, okay, well, like, hold on, like, let's pull out your goals for the year and see if it aligns with them or if it's one of the things that we need to add. And we talked about it, and like I look at my goals and I'll be like, oh, nope, I really want to stay focused on this. That's probably not the program for me right now. Or, oh my gosh, that's perfectly in alignment with this. We should definitely, invest a little bit in this. And it helped to make decisions along the way that kept me on course and again, heading towards living my best life, which is, I don't want to say like I'm totally there yet, but look, we're getting there.
Well, there's a question on the goal system, and I'm not going to do the whole thing because I think that'll be overwhelming for people. Like, you need come to the workshop, or like this will be a lot. But there's the big question is how will these accomplishments impact your overall quality of life? And I think that's the most important question on here because our business is for our life, not our life for our business. And that's where I think a lot of goal setting gets wrong. It's like, okay, I'm going to become purple unicorn rank no matter what. And so every resource that I have in my life is going to go to support my business. That means my life becomes for my business. But really think it's the other way around. And so the quality of life question is really, really so important. Man, I had a follow-up question on what you said. Dang it. Oh, yes, I remember now. So the box, yearly goal setting being a box. Can you talk a little bit about the process of adding and subtracting throughout the year?
Yes. And so we did every so often. I think we really did it quarterly. But sometimes we would check in at different times too. But we for sure did it quarterly. Checking in. And there were some things on the list that were a priority when I made the goal setting. And then as time went on, I was like, that is no longer important to me at this time. So we would maybe cross it off the list, say, this is not a goal for this year anymore. Maybe it'll be in 2023 or 2024. But right now, that's not a priority. It's not where it sucks my joy instead of bringing me joy, or it's just, the expenses are not right there right now, and it's pulling me away from these other things that really are my priority. And I'm finding a lot of joy and motivation, and I'm helping a lot of people. That's a big thing for me, and helping a lot of animals. So those things would get crossed off the list. And then just like when something new and shiny would come along, it doesn't mean you don't do the new shiny thing. It means like, look at it in correlation with everything else. If you do this thing and say yes to it, what are you going to have to say no to? And that's a big thing. That, I mean, if you've come around Tasha like for 5 minutes, she's probably said that to you. So like it just helps you. It makes decision making so much easier throughout the year. You're like, if I say yes to this, what do I say no to? And sometimes it makes sense to say yes to that and cross something else off the list, and that's okay. That's 100% okay. I mean, it's like your life. So I love that. Well, my adaptability loves that. So I'm like, I really like that I don't have to stick to my list and check everything off in order to be happy or satisfied. And as a CEO, which all of you are, if you're in network marketing, you're a CEO of your business, believe it or not, then you have to make those decisions. And sometimes it's really hard. And sometimes you throw a little tantrum because you want to do all the things, and you just think you just have to work a little bit harder because working's not that big of a deal. But then, of course, like, spend as much time with your animals or your kids or your husband or whatever. And so then, of course, like, you don't want to pull away from that. So
you're like, you don't spend as much time with your animals.
that's a priority for me. It is. Sorry.
Oh, I know. It was just adorable. So like in the goal system, we have some specific questions that are, just loose. Like, I think a couple of things that are important is reflecting on the previous year, kind of checking in emotionally, and then, setting goals in each area of your life to make sure they don't conflict. What do you think about the format that we use has been the most helpful?
I think the format, the way you guys do it is just, it's a brilliant system in general, like everything. But for me, I think I really am not super great at the first part. So like when you're writing down all of your basically like accomplishments for the past year, you will definitely surprise yourself with how much you actually did and got done. And um like every year I make the list and I'm like, dang, like, wow, this was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all maybe the stuff that I thought that I was going to do, but it's still really incredible. And you learn like, oh, I can, I really can do some really hard things. It didn't feel like I could do it at the time or when it first started, but I got through it and I got it done. And I'm really bad at, once I do something, I'm like, okay, well, that was great. Moving on to the next thing, and not really thinking about it. And then at the end of the year, you're like, wow, this all happened in 1 year. Like, wow, this is really incredible. And that to me, every year, I'm so surprised. I'm surprised, but I'm also like, yeah, I did those things, and it's kind of like, I think women do this a lot where you just like, oh, you're like wanting to be humble. It's like almost like a false humility where you're like, oh, it's just not that big of a deal, it's fine. And I'm terrible at that. And so like when you do it for yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm really awesome. And then it gives you courage to go ahead and have some new goals for the next year. Yeah.
Yeah. So far we've painted this picture of like, if you set your goals and you work toward them, you can either change them, add them, or achieve them. Let's talk about when you don't reach the goals. So we've painted this picture of you as this person who puts it down and hits all the goals, and that's not true, actually, everyone. Now we're bound by confidentiality, so I can't share anything. I probably went too far and just said that. So you don't have to talk about like which goals you weren't able to achieve. but can you acknowledge if there were goals that you didn't achieve in the time frame that you had hoped? And how did you respond to that? How did that feel? What'd you kind of do next?
Um, well, it's, we've been together for a while, so there are times when I did not reach a goal and I felt really sorry for myself and I cried a little bit and felt like I was worthless. Yeah. and, did the whole pity party thing. And then we talked about it and, it was just like, it really is like, with, especially because of the system, like you're like, I didn't reach that goal, but I made that, I kind of made that decision that I wasn't going to reach it. And also part of it is like, well, why didn't I reach it? And then you can like kind of actually look at it from an analytical standpoint instead of an emotional standpoint, which you're like, you always, what do you always say? Like, don't do emotions, math instead, or something like that. It's something that I totally butchered your quote. I'm so sorry, Tasha.
No, and it was so good. And I've been in like feelings all week. So I don't like to hear when you use my own line.
Things against you. I know. It's like, you should follow your own advice. It's really good. So I say that to myself too. So it really helps you, to really just like, be able to break it down and be like, okay, why didn't this work? Was it, because of some tech thing that I need, and then you can like troubleshoot a little bit and be like, okay, so was it our goal that was off? Was it, our implementation that was off? Was it our, did we have a crazy life wrench thrown in there, which happens to me all the time? It seems like so, and then it's like, well, that crazy life wrench got thrown in there. So, maybe that wasn't the best goal to have at that point because we had to shift our priorities to a different part of our life instead of our business, especially. Like sometimes you have to be like, all right, have to focus on this instead. But then also, okay, what are we going to do next time to make it better or to be able to reach it next time? And so, yeah, all the time. This year is a really good example of like not reaching a lot of the goals. And so, does it suck when that happens? Yeah, it super sucks. And, it's easy to get caught in that, like, it's because of something I did or something I didn't do and I didn't work hard enough and I'm just not smart enough or like I'm too old or like I'm not skinny and pretty or like whatever it is, like I mean, I've not thought those things ever.
And I don't know
why I'm using those as examples. So yeah. Did you want to so I yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that, but it's important not to. And I think the best way, I don't know, the best way out is through like everything. So
Ugh.
and of course, like if you guys find yourself like saying those things to yourself, just check yourself a little bit, check your heart, because I mean, I love Jesus and there's no way that God would be talking to his daughter like that. So why would we ever talk to ourselves like that? You would never talk to your daughter like that. Why do we talk to ourselves like this?
Yeah.
So but it's not something you did. It's just like what can we do next time or as we move forward to make it better? So
Yeah, I love that. Any last bits of advice that or encouragement or best practices or just kind of something? Oh, and if you guys find any of this relatable or helpful, put it in the comments. If you guys want details on the goal setting workshop next week, let us know that too. Take us home.
all right, I think words of wisdom, huh? Well, do the workshop, like duh. No brainer on that one. But for sure, I would say like if if you want confidence in your life and in your business, any part of your life, then you have to it's not about overcoming the fear and getting confident. It's about doing it with the fear anyways. And just try, just do something. The only way you can go anywhere in a car, in a boat, anything is by, the only way you can steer is by like going forward.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you're stuck, it's because you're not moving. Take a step in any direction, and then god'll point you in the right direction.
I love
So,
that. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with everybody. And I hope it was helpful for everyone who's watching, and also to just kind of be in the real talk mode of it. Maybe we should have been shinier or something. But I feel like this is a really important topic to be honest, like really honest about all of the emotions behind, so that if you feel those things, like you are not the only person that feels like, what if I don't reach the school? Does this make me a failure? What if, right? Like things change for me, and how is this going to impact my family? Like we can help work through that and solve that for you. So you don't have to figure this out alone. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for Janet for sharing your heart today. Appreciate it so much.
thank you. Bye.